All right. Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to Page Chewing, episode 47. And I am here joined by Mr. the CEO of all things Page Chewing, my wonderful friend Steve Talks Books. And yeah, can't believe it's episode 47. Unfortunately, our other wonderful and talented co host, Taylor from Made Between the Pages, wasn't able to make it. She's just celebrated the birth of a beautiful baby girl. And so, congratulations to her and her husband, Haito, and the lovely little baby. So, that's fantastic. So, she's a bit busy right now. So, we can understand why she's not here. She may pop up in the comments if she has some time. But however, again, episode 47, big episode because we are featuring today none other than he is adding to his many hats now, a self-published fantasy blog off SPFBO judge. Um, Congratulations, professor, academic, booktuber extraordinaire, professional nemesis, certainly for AP Canavan, and of course, best-selling, recently self-published author. Give it up for Mr. Chase with the Wavy Dan, and much more coming in the Edan trilogy. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Philip Chase. Welcome to the show.
Wow, PL, that was a really wonderful welcome. I'm speechless here. But the real reason why this is a special episode is it is the first episode that you are hosting. So hooray for PL being a host and having his own channel now here on YouTube. We are so excited for your channel, PL, and the wonderful content that we all know is coming. I'm sure that there'll be many great insights and conversations to come on this channel. So this is something to really celebrate. So yeah, congratulations, PL, on starting your very own YouTube channel.
Well, thank you so much, Philip and Steve. It is exciting. It of course, I've spoken about this briefly before, that this is all possible and happening largely because of Steve and Taylor, my wonderful co-hosts, who have encouraged me, supported me, give me that little pat on the back to say you can do this despite my technological challenges and everything else. So they kind of gave me the green light and gave it a little kick to get going. So here I start, and what a way to start off with page chewing and with you, Philip. So a pretty exciting day. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you. We're seeing some of the comments come in. Who do we have?
Lots of great people out there.
Lots of great people. Yeah, we got Vader showing up. Jeremy. Yeah, Jeremy. We already had Rob Hayes eating those pages. So if you missed it, it's been done. But you never know when that will happen again. So and who else is here? Daniel. Oh, well, with Philip there, who knows what kind of wild behavior might emerge? Philip, that wild and crazy guy, Philip Chase. He's a wild card.
Watch out for those shenanigans, everybody.
And who else is here? We have Layla. Oh, hey, Layla. How's it going?
Hello, Layla.
How's it going? Well, great to have you. And Chibapo, fantastic. Chibo was actually dropped in earlier on the deep dive we were doing into Grand Conspiracy, Jenny's book earlier today on Angela, the Bookaholics channel. It was fantastic. Spoiler filled, so be careful. Yeah. If you haven't read the book. Oh, Sean. Hey, Sean. Hey, Eddie. Welcome, Eddie. Great guy.
Yeah.
Pete Reeds. Hey, Pete. How's it going?
All right.
Thanks for coming. Oh, there he is.
There's Chris.
There's trouble. Chris Mohan. Good evening, Chris. And Epic, the wonderful Epic Tales, the master of videos. He's there too. So yeah, we'll get back to some more of the comments in a bit. So yeah, that's awesome. So, Mr. Chase, what have we been up to? Everything, as I said by the intro, sounds like, again, world domination. Sounds like you're aiming for that. All those hats that you're taking on. How is it going? First of all, congratulations again on the publication of The Wavy Den. It has taken off like a rocket, as far as I can see from the outside looking in. Superlative reviews, and in terms of quantitative, quite a lot of reviews very quickly on Goodreads and Amazon. A best-selling tag. One point, hey, like congratulations. So that's what we're seeing from the outside. So tell us how it's going from the inside.
Oh, wow. It's been going great. I am just extremely gratified and grateful for the fact that the story's out there. And PL, I think as well as anyone, how rewarding writing can be by itself. But there is also something else that happens when people read your story, and it feels like it sort of comes alive at that moment. And there's something very special about that. And so that has been extremely wonderful for me to experience the fact that other people are reading the story, that they're giving me feedback, and I'm getting even people saying, of course, that they're enjoying the story, and that's just wonderful to hear, and that they're resonating with certain parts of it, and that it speaks to them in different ways with different themes that are in there. So it's really wonderful to get that kind of feedback, and a lot of very kind folks have been leaving reviews on Goodreads and Amazon, and PL, how important those things are too, especially for a self-published author. So I'm very overwhelmed and grateful, and just in a good place because of all the wonderful people out there. Really, it's from the moment that I announced that I would be publishing the trilogy this year, and I got just wonderful comments from the supportive people in our community about it, and it was very moving to me. And from that moment until now, this has been a really fantastic journey. And people like you, PL, who have read the book and given me such a nice review. I loved that review. It was so eloquent. And sometimes when, I'm sure this has happened to most authors, but you read a review and you think, wow, that says it better than even I could have, So I was really, really grateful for that review. And now I'm sending out the Prophet of Edan to some reviewers and readers, and one is on its way to UPL, actually, so it should be arriving next week. So yeah, I do have a copy of that with me here.
So, beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm excited about the dragon, and so I've always, Tolkien's famous quote, "I desire dragons," right? And I've been wanting to write about dragons for a long time. So here we are.
Nice. Yeah. So Philip, since I just realized we've been talking for almost 2 years now. I've known you for about 2 years. And since then you've talked about writing the books and getting it ready to be published. What was it like when you hit that button, that publish button? What was that feeling that you had when you hit that button and released it to the world?
Yeah. Well, first of all, because I'm kind of a tech idiot, I was like, I hope I'm doing this right. that was definitely like, ooh, what happens if I click this? Is the whole thing gonna blow up or whatever? So, fortunately, that it worked when I clicked the button, and then it was just kind of like waiting and seeing, but it's exciting. It's mostly exciting. It is definitely. I think any writer would confess to having moments when you feel like, what if everything I've written is just rubbish? what if everybody hates it? So there are some nerves as well, but for the most part, excitement and anticipation, and having friends like you guys, like PL was, has been supportive, and people who are reading the books in advance and getting feedback from them has been very helpful too. So that definitely allays some of the nerves when you've already gotten feedback before the public release. It definitely helps a lot to hear from people whom you've given arcs out to and that sort of thing. So it's really cool, I have to say, to be part of this community of such incredible, supportive, and really kind people. So that's made this. I couldn't ask for better, really. I mean, I have no regrets whatsoever. I'm actually happy to have gone the self-published route now, because I don't feel like if I had somehow been picked up by a traditional publisher, and this is not a knock or anything on traditional publishing, but I don't feel like it would have felt as personal a process as it does now, with being part of this community and having the support and having making all these decisions on my own too. So it's been more challenging in some respects, but also incredibly enriching and wonderful, really. So very affirmative experience.
From the minute you decided to go self-publishing, what's the biggest surprise you've had what's from that point where you said, I'm going to self-publish? What's the biggest surprise? What's the most surprising thing
about self-publishing? I mean, I did do a fair amount of research, but there are things that you need to. I mean, I'll try to frame this as something helpful for people who might be thinking of self-publishing. Sometimes you'll have these, for the most part, it's been great working. I'm using Amazon KDP and I'm using Ingram Spark, and I don't really have any serious complaints about either, really. It's been a fairly good process. But if you are intending to self-publish, make sure you have things done. Give like 2 or 3 times as much time as you think you're going to need for stuff. Because sometimes, particularly with Ingram Spark on the first book, I will say the second book, everything's gone, I mean, knock on wood. But I will this time around with the Prophet of Edan, everything's gone according to schedule really well. The first time Ingram Spark was really late on everything. And I was really like, if they said it would take 2 to 3 days, it was taking like 2 or 3 weeks. It was just crazy. Yeah. So things got really delayed there. And that was surprising to me. So give a whole lot of time to stuff. If you're intending to self-publish, that's, I guess, a bit of advice. So I was a little surprised at how long things took the first time, but this time, so I guess it does work sometimes the way it's supposed to, but plan for things not to always go the way they're supposed to. I guess the biggest surprise is how things have gone as well as they have. So, you don't really know what to expect when you take this dive, and I'm just delighted with the feedback, and just feeling kind of embraced by the community out there. So yeah.
Well, you certainly had a lot of love in the community prior to becoming a self-published author. So now I think that's only taken off more with everyone, reading and loving and embracing your book. So no surprises there.
Well, thanks, PL. Yeah.
No surprises there.
Yeah.
I'm going to flash a couple more comments here.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yes,
I actually heard you.
And then Chris, the hype intro. And yes, Sean, yes, for Mr. Chase, a lover of all things Malazan.
I'm a big fan of Malazan, yes.
Really? I didn't know
that. We never would have guessed. Oh, Eddie, thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Steve.
Hey, Jeremy.
And thank you, Carl. Thank you so much. About time. I don't know about that. It's kind of, it's been a bit nerve-wracking going on this journey, but like I said, I have lots of friends to support me and help me in the way. So thank you, Carl. And the great Timothy Wolf. Thank you so much, Timothy. I really appreciate that. Derek B. Thank you, Derek. And Chibapo. Although we're obviously remiss in having only AP's nemesis here. We need a proper wizard duel, so call AP forthwith. Okay. Not really, as undoubtedly he is sleeping. Yeah, I would hope so.
I hope so. Yeah.
The time over there.
Does he sleep though? I don't know. I'm
yeah,
not
I don't know. Yeah,
No,
do nemesis sleep?
I was saying the other day, dragons actually don't really sleep, and
Yeah.
so I mean, if he does ever sleep, it's with his eyes open.
Pete reads no, only non-spoiler talk. I think Steve already answered that down there for us. So yeah, just non-spoiler. The wonderful Joanna.
There's Joanna.
Welcome. How
You know,
doing?
Joanna had an episode of Why Read Today that went like 4 hours long.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
She was the host, of course, and there was Alan and Tori. And oh my goodness, it's a wonder that I don't know how you'd go 4 hours, but that was amazing. I was there for actually the majority of it, but yeah, amazing.
Wonderful host, though. Wonderful
yes.
host.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, Joanna is amazing. Yeah, but that's quite the group there. That's a marathon though. 4 hours. Wow. So yeah. Oh, Joanna says she's enjoying The Prophet of Edan so far. Very exciting opening to the sequel. Ooh, that's fantastic. Well, we're really excited for it too. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Oh, Colin, thank you so much. Colin.
All right.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Then Joanna, again, we're saying, oh, thank you so much, Joanna. I'm honored. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Joanna does fantastic reviews on Booktube. And Daniel, oh, looks thicker than the first. So Prophet of Edan. Let's listen to comparison. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna get even more exciting epic fantasy.
Yeah, actually, it's the first one is just in terms of the story part is 450 pages, and the second one is 590 something. Yeah, 590 something. So yeah, definitely thicker. Yeah.
Well, we have a question here leading into all that that we'll let Philip answer. Derek B. To Philip, did you write the two of them at the same time? I feel that The Way of Edan was just released.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a nutcase, actually, Derek. I've been working on this trilogy for the last 18 years, and all three books have been more or less ready for a little while, for I'd say more than a couple of years or more than a year. It's definitely the last significant edit that I did was working with AP Canavan, a Critical Dragon, the nemesis, also my developmental editor. So that was a wonderful process. So after that, I haven't done significant editing. And so they've been ready for a good while. And I've basically able to release all three in a period of, the first release was March 21st, and then June 21st is book 2. And then September 21st will be book 3. So it's really just a matter of getting the covers ready, doing the formatting and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm putting them all three out this year. I figured I hope people like that. I mean, Alan was, I think, sort of, he was complaining a little bit about having to read all these self-published books all, at the same time. But I think people like to have, especially if they actually like the first book, it's nice to have the next one available relatively soon. People don't like waiting a year, or in the case of some authors, a decade,
or more.
Yeah. Those authors should remain nameless, though.
We're not naming names. We're not shaming anyone here.
No author shaming, but yeah, I think Philip, the fact knowing that you're releasing all your books within a short space of time is only going to boost your sales, boost anticipation, and really satisfy your readers in that they don't have to wait. I know that everybody is just ecstatic in the writing community talking about your trilogy, and just knowing that it's, they're not going to have that undue delay, right? I mean, I can say as an author who endeavors to write a book a year and publish a book a year, so far, knock on wood, I'm on track. But you had your trilogy in preparation for a long time.
Yeah.
So, now that you're getting it out in a rather expedient fashion, I mean, it seems fast for all of us, but for you, this has been a labor of quite some time, right? So how does it feel to, finally see this come to fruition after the time you spent percolating with it, potentially, querying it and going the self publisher now, and of course being successful? How does it feel to bring your baby to life, your babies, triplets to life?
Yeah, triplets. Yeah, it's pretty cathartic, and I know you have good insight into this too. I think, PL, because I know that you have your entire series written in a sense. I mean, I know that you had the whole long series done in a way, or at least the skeleton of it, right? And then you're going back and you're fleshing out each of those books in the series. So it's not exactly the same, but a similar kind of thing, I suppose. And so you've definitely been planning your series a long time, and you're seeing each of your books coming out, and it's so exciting. And so it's incredibly cathartic to have worked so hard and so long on something. I don't want to give the impression I work, every week of the year on this. It's mostly been during the summers that I've been writing. I have to teach during the rest of the year, so I've been using the summers for the last 18 years to work on this, which is still a pretty significant chunk of time. These 3 books, actually 4, I should say, because I do have a standalone sequel already written as well, that I'm going to be putting out in 2024. So that's another part of all of this. And I've got ideas for another book as well in this world. So I think I'm going to hang out in this world for a bit. But yeah, it's just so amazing. There aren't a lot of things that you work on. I guess raising a child, maybe another thing you can compare. That amount of time put into something, and you invest so much of your heart and soul into it. That's probably the nearest thing I can think of to compare it to. And then they go out in the world, and you hope they do okay.
Well, obviously, they're doing okay. So you can be very proud, Philip, I think, of what you've accomplished, thus far with certainly with your release and with the books that are upcoming and exciting. Oh, other stories set in your world. Is there anything you can? I know you may not be able to say much, but anything you can say about that?
Oh yeah, I can say a little bit. And the standalone sequel that's already written is called While Darkness Gathers.
Ooh,
and it's set about 15 years after the end of the trilogy. So yeah. And
okay.
I can't say much more than that without spoiling stuff about the trilogy, but you will see some characters who are in the trilogy in the sequel. Not all the characters, but some. Can't say why. And then I have an idea for a prequel book that's been knocking around in my head for a while, a bit. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but my current idea is to write a prequel about the character Urd when she's young. So if you've read the first book, you know who she is, and she's old in the first book. But I just think there's more to her story. She seems to be telling me, hey, I've got more to my story. You need to pay attention to me a little bit here. So that's what I'm thinking about for the book after the sequel. But we'll see. We'll see what things look like in a year or so.
Ooh, sign me up for that. It is one of my favorites. It's funny. I was speaking today on the live stream with Janny on Angie's channel. Janny, Nico Plays, myself, about Grand Conspiracy.
Great crew.
Great crew in Jenny's work. And I was talking about my favorite character from that book, Dar Sabryden. And I was talking about characters who are older, have a lot of wisdom, but they're also quite, snarky and are old enough not to care what they say and will dress anyone down. And they're like, those are the characters that I just love and gravitate to. And I loved that about Urd in your book, Philip. So awesome character. I would sign me up for any sequel or prequel to do with Urd. I'm there for that. So Fascinating
Cool.
character.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah.
We'll take on some more comments. Chris, that talking about Philip's book, some great chunk.
Chunk there. Yeah.
Got the chunk factor.
So it's not vast. Like it's not A Song of Ice and Fire length or Wheel of Time length or that sort of thing. It's the first book is, I think the best way to describe it is word count, right? So the first book is 165,000 words, which is not a super long for fantasy, for other genres maybe, but not our genre. And then the second one is 219,000 words. So that is a fair bit longer than the first. Yeah.
Yeah, but as the universe expands, I'm sure where there's going to be a lot more to talk about. You've laid so much of the foundation and groundwork, and now we're going to see that expanse. And cannot wait.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a fantasy thing to do, to get bigger with each book.
Go big or go home, Philip. Go big or go home.
That's right. We got to start a little bit smaller to give room for that, bigger, So, but yeah, there's Bryce there. Hello, Bryce.
Bryce, one of self-centered. Thank you so much for coming, Bryce.
Dan,
black and blue collar reader. Oh, that's so kind. Thank you, my friend. Dan is also one of the nicest people on.
Oh, absolutely.
Booktube. Joanna didn't mean for it to go in 4 hours, but time flies when you're having fun.
That's true.
Thank you all. That's very true. Let's repeat question. Shibapo. Oh, thank you so much, Shibapo. That you're so kind. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Shibapo writes fantastic reviews as well. Jeremy. Oh, Jeremy's got some theories going on.
All right.
Hey, Philip, got some theories about how the second book will start. Excited to find out.
What is it like for you, Philip, when you hear people, like when you release it to everyone and you hear the feedback of how everyone interpreted your work or what they have predicted for the future? What is that like? Something that how it's going to go. What is that like for you to hear all these different theories and ideas and feedback?
It's fun. I enjoy hearing people conjecture, and I have to bite my tongue sometimes and I have a terrible poker face. So if you guys played poker with me, you would come out of it quite a bit wealthier, I'm sure.
Okay.
So I have to be very careful, but it is fun to hear people's theories and conjecture, and it's just I think it means that the story was interesting enough for them to think about that sort of thing. So I take it anyway as a compliment of a kind, really, when people think about, well, maybe this happens or maybe that, or just that sort of conjecturing it's fun to hear. And I try not to spoil things too. So I have to be considerate. That's part of the learning process. PL, maybe you can help me with that too, because I know that, I'm sure you've been tempted to say, well, actually in the next book, this is what happens, right? Have you ever been in that position?
Yeah, very, very much so. But your poker face is pretty good, Philip. It's still pretty good.
All right. Well, yeah. But yeah, it's really great.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh, pre-order. Look at that.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. It's out. Both the ebook and the paperback are now available for pre-order. So
fantastic. Eric, I think having such a fast release schedule is awesome. Yeah, we talked about that. I think it's phenomenal. And got a question from Eddie there. Professor, how's Alan coming along with the audio? He's probably in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, well, Alan is, in my opinion, going to be a brilliant audiobook narrator. He has so much talent. He has so much talent on the stage. I don't know if you guys have seen the video, but Alan did release a video once of him performing a drama based on the Iliad, but it's a modern kind of retelling with a kind of one-man show thing that Alan does. And I got chills up and down my spine watching him perform that. So I know this is a guy, we all know he can, do lots of voices and he's a lot of fun and all that, but the guy can act too. So that tells me that he is going to be a really great audiobook narrator. I hope that the story will give him range to have fun. He's going to have fun with some of the voices. They're going to be certain favorites. I hope that people are going to love Alan's rendering of. But I also think that it'll give him some serious moments, and he'll be able to show his dramatic chops, so to speak, with some of the more high and serious stuff as well. I think he's going to be brilliant. Now, as to how things are coming along right now, he would know better than I would, but we're leaving things open at the moment. What we're hoping for is a late summer release of the audiobook of book 1. But if Alan needs more time, because I know he's going to want to make this as good as he can, he'll. And I know it's going to be brilliant. He's more nervous about it than I am by far. I'm quite happy that he's doing it. But yeah, if he needs more time or anything, that's going to be fine with me. I don't want to be putting him on a tight schedule or anything like that. So we are hoping for a late summer release of the audiobook for The Way of Edan, and then we'll go from there. But even if that doesn't happen, we'll try to keep folks, in the loop as much as we can. But this is a process that he's just starting, and I think he probably has a lot of learning to do and some experimenting. So, we're going to be a little bit forgiving here of Alan. I'm sure everybody, just because they want to hear Alan perform, I think we all are curious about that. But, give him some time to figure things out, and it's going to be worth the wait, I'm sure.
Oh, we're sure too. We're very excited for that audiobook. For people that prefer audiobooks or can only consume audiobooks, I'm knowing that Alan is the voice actor, gives a lot of us a lot of confidence that it's going to be phenomenal. So I just want to click up questions because I have a question based on what's coming up here. So hey, Fantasy Thinker,
hello.
How's it going? Great person, great channel. Check out his channel.
Oh yeah,
Eddie, the triplets graduated high school.
That's right. You're off to college.
And here, this is the Fantasy Thinker again. This is leading to a question I have. I would love to see some old history of Edan. Philip, your book so far the one that I've read is so rich, and I love lore, world building, history. There is so much fantastic meat on the bone there in The Way of Edan, and I'm sure it's only going to continue with the rest of your trilogy. So would you ever consider writing the Philip Chase Fire and Blood version of or the history of like the history of Middle Earth and Silmarillion, the Edan Fire and Edan or something like that? Would you consider writing like a historical compendium of perhaps the lore? You have songs, there's just so much there. Would you consider putting something like that together?
I would enjoy that. I don't know how many people would want that though. It actually surprised me. I read Fire and Blood, George R. Martin's kind of pseudo history with the two different historical voices and of this world that he's created in the Song of Ice and Fire. And I love that sort of thing. I love history. But I think, I was under the impression that most people would find such a thing very dull, And if you were Fire and Blood, as much as I enjoyed reading it, it's not really as good storytelling as A Song of Ice and Fire is. It's meant to be an imitation of history, and it is dry in a way. I think George R. R. Martin had fun doing it, and the people who are really into that series love that world that he's created. So anything that he writes about is going to be of interest, I suppose. Would Fire and Blood have been as interesting on its own if there were no A Song of Ice and Fire? I doubt it. But, as long as there are people like us who are really invested in that world and curious about its background, I think probably, that sort of thing could work. I don't know if I would have the base. I certainly will never have the base that George R. R. Martin has, but would I have enough of a base for enough people to be interested in? I have written somewhere. I don't even know if I have it anymore. I know if I lost the file or whatever, but I wrote about 100 pages of world building, of history and mythology. And before I started the story at all, I needed to I did the map first, and then I built some history and stuff. And so that exists somewhere or other, maybe on an old computer or something. But I would have to really work on it to make it something presentable in a book. But so who knows? Who knows?
You never know.
I like that sort of thing. I love history. I'm a huge history nut. I could see myself. I have a character. It's not a spoiler to say I have one character who is a lore master in that world, so I could do it in his voice. I could do a history of Jormungand in the voice of Gnorn the Dwerg. Yeah.
Ooh. Love it. That'd be amazing. Well, I mean, when you write it, and then we get the House of Edan on Netflix or Disney Plus. I mean, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, we can all dream, I guess. Yeah. So.
Why not dream big?
Never know.
There's another question I want to get to here, just in the comment section. Oh, Jeremy, feedback.
Nice. I like it, Jeremy.
Nice, Jeremy.
From Colin's Corner. So he's asking for a quick summary of book 1 in The Prophet of Edan. Obviously spoiler free, but can you tell us about that, Philip?
I have not included that. I know that's an increasingly popular thing, but I figured, look, I'm putting the books out 3 months one after the other, so maybe that's not long enough for people to forget everything. But Colin, if you want to, you and I can have a Zoom session, and I'll summarize everything for you. So Colin actually had a really wonderful review on his channel of The Way of Edan. It was really cool to see his feedback as another great example of somebody that just really was fantastic to hear his thoughts. But yeah, no, I haven't included one of those summaries. Are you doing that, PL? Are you summarizing the previous books in the next one?
No, it's funny. We've talked about this on previous page chewing with Austin's in particular, to do the synopsis or not to do it, right? And what works, I've tried to weave it organically within the following book. So for example, John King's my first book. For the last Atlanteans, I try and weave in, hey, this is as the characters move forward their journey, just a bit of, you recall this happened, right? And there's some linkage there. I'm not sure if I've done it successfully so far. Some people have said yes. I'm hoping that's the general consensus. Steve's read the book, so I think hopefully there's been enough of a almost an organic recap without too much, just especially if a lot of fantasy readers now, Philip, I'm not sure if you and Steve, if you agree, they may love your book, but they're going to read your book and then they're going on to something else, and they may come back to book 2 months, even a year later.
That's
so
right.
It's hard to remember obviously everything that's gone before. So I think it's a stylistic choice. I've chosen to do it within that next series. Some people stick it right at the front. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, as long as you feel your readers haven't been left behind or lost.
You don't. I mean, you don't want to make things hard on your reader. That's for sure. So whatever makes it easier for the reader. I did think about doing it, but I felt like, well, what actually happens in the first book? I mean, is there enough complicated? Maybe I'm so familiar with the story. Maybe mine is the wrong perspective here. Because then I've had people tell me, yeah, you have too many names, you have so many names and that sort of thing. But really, if you think about just a few main POVs and what happens with them, I feel like it's not a super complex thing going on there where you would necessarily need a summary. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would have been a more helpful thing to include. We'll see. People will have to tell me if they had to jar their memories on starting the second book, if a summary would have been helpful. But yeah, I ultimately did go with let's not do that. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, the proof's in the pudding. When now that your second book is coming out, that you may see in subsequent series potentially, you may decide one way or another. But I'm sure it's. I mean, I feel that you've written these characters so vividly, Philip, and the events with such clarity. I think I'll have an easy time remembering what's happened. It's very much stuck in my mind, the major events of your book. So,
well, I can say the second book starts off pretty much right where the first one leaves off. So hopefully that will jar people's memories right there and then. Yeah.
Just to bring it back to the audiobook, how did that all come to be? Because how did Alan end up agreeing to do the audiobook? What was that conversation like?
Oh, that was fun. Actually, it was Jimmy from the Fantasy Network. Yeah. Who initially he suggested it during I think it was a conversation on Jenny Wirtz's first book in the Wars of Light and Shadow. I think we were talking about Curse of the Mistwraith. I think that's when Jimmy sort of said, you should ask Alan if he might want to be your narrator. I thought, I thought about it for a while, and then I thought, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. So I reached out to Alan and said, Alan, do you want to be an audiobook narrator? Would you like to narrate my first book? So he wrote back and said, wow, okay, I'm surprised you would ask me. And I'm not surprised, because I think it's a brilliant notion, actually. So I have to give credit to Jimmy for the idea of asking Alan in the first place. And I know that Alan has talked about the idea of doing narration in the past, but it's hopefully something that will become a reality. And I think, depending on how things go, but I wouldn't be surprised if he suddenly was in demand as an audiobook narrator. We'll see.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all. Alan definitely has all of the parts. I also think personally that my dear co-host here, Mr. Steve, with that voice would be a phenomenal narrator. Like, that's definitely so key. Yeah, so maybe we'll see that one day.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Mr. Smooth.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see. Yeah.
Going back to the comments here, PL, there's JBJ Blaze, fantastic fellow that lives not too far from me, about an hour away. And I've had the privilege of meeting up with him in person and being able to give him some signed copies of the book. So yeah, fantastic, fantastic guy. PL knows I love audiobooks. Still waiting for his new books in audio format while I catch up on A John Kingdom. I still get Harvard copies for the sake of a tangible collection. I've yet to try Fire and Blood, but did catch all House and Dragon. I love House of Dragon personally. Great.
Which is very different from Fire and Blood. I mean, Fire and Blood is just a bare bones script, basically. And which was nice for the adaptation, I think, because they had so much room to go where they wanted to. Whereas if they had done that with the, a Game of Thrones show, people would have been upset, if they went, too much. And of course, we don't know what Martin is going to do in the last couple of books anyway, but with I think it's perfect for adapting, actually, in that sense, that bare history. So yeah,
I'd have to agree. I would have to agree. Daniel just needs some good art to make a nice coffee table book.
Nice. I'd love that. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Oh, yeah. Eddie, PL just started John Kingdom. What a prologue. Any news on audio of the rest of your series? I like re-enlisting Rebellion sprung from lust, betrayal, and blood. Well, thank you. Wow. Thank you, Eddie. I'm glad you're enjoying that. Just quickly, my plans right now as they stand, they could change, is that I'm going to finish the series first. As you know, it's a 7-book series. And for me, I felt if I had a shorter series, I think I might have slowed down and produced audiobooks depending on cost for, the other books in a trilogy. But since it's 7 books, I feel that would potentially delay, the entire series. And I really want to stick to that book a year. So, tentatively, when the series is complete, then we'll revisit and see. Right now there's only one audiobook out. That's for John Kingdom. So we'll revisit once I've managed to get that series complete to see what we're going to do with the audiobooks. But thank you for that question. So, JBJ Blaze. So this is, Philip, you can weigh on as well. Do you write series sequentially from start to finish, or is there such a thing as writing out of order, like in most TV shows or movies? What do we think, gentlemen?
Yeah, well, I mostly write sequentially or chronologically, but sometimes in the course of revising, I'll realize that I need to go back to somewhere closer to the beginning and write a whole new chapter. So not all the chapters were written in order necessarily in the books. When you spend so many years writing and revising, you end up doing some things just out of order. And that's the exception, though, in my case. Most of the time, it's just starting from the beginning and then going until I get to the end. Some people like to write their ending first, and then that's you. I know PL is one of those. So yeah, maybe you could talk about that. Oops, you're muted, I think.
See, rookie mistake. Yeah, I actually love writing endings. It's my favorite part of any book. And I tend to write the endings first for my novels and then go back and write because I mean the advantage that Philip mentioned that, I have the guts of the book planned out, so it's easy to stay on track. And I just think endings just there's something about endings for me, right? And Jenny Wirtz, one of my favorite authors. We're all a friend of the channel. We all know Jenny well, especially the three of us. Her endings are phenomenal. No one sticks name like Jenny Wirtz, and that's really inspired me to work on my endings because I feel that capstone to a novel really one of the biggest things it does is it sets the tone for the next book. So, and that's something that I really feel builds excitement and momentum for the next book. So,
and PL, do you know how the entire heptology ends?
Oh yes. Oh yes, yes. I know.
Are you
how
the
it
only
ends.
person who knows?
My wife, my lovely wife Debbie. My shout out, babes, if you're watching, love you very much. Yeah, my wife Debbie, who's also my business manager. She knows how it ends. Philip, do you know how the trilogy will end?
Oh yeah. I do. I struggled with the very end of the trilogy for a while with a big decision about whether to do this or that, and went back and forth quite a bit. But yeah, ultimately went the route that felt right. So yeah.
So who else knows?
Who else knows? Well, AP Canavan knows. In my case, being my developmental editor, and my wife knows. And I think my father, I don't know if he remembers. It's been a while since he read a draft, but he's read a draft of the ending too. So that's probably about it. Yeah.
Have you ever been tempted just to tell someone how it ends? Have you ever been tempted? Has it ever been a temptation for you?
Not so much. No. I don't want to ruin it for anyone. So yeah.
Oh, it's tempting though sometimes, isn't it? You want to spill the beans.
Well, when people make comments about certain things and you realize, oh, but if you only knew this, then I could tell you the answer to that, but you can't tell them this because it happens later. So.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. We have another question here. Philip or PL, I just went to my first Comic-Con today. Fantastic. Congratulations, Colin. And it was so cool to meet and have in-depth conversations with four authors. Have you guys done it? Would you consider doing cons ever?
How about you, PL? Would you?
Yes, I've done one. London, Ontario, not London, England. London, Ontario, Canada. Comic-Con. It was fabulous. I was very fortunate. Sold a lot of books. Met some amazing people, some amazing fellow authors. The fans there, it's just such a wonderful, warm, inclusive, happy, positive, uplifting environment doing cons. And it's just people there just to savor and relish the experience, become immersed in their particular fandoms. You see people dressed up, like these characters. It just, and some of the costumes and the stuff is just phenomenal. It's just, you could people watch all day, right? Just seeing some of the stuff. It's just fantastic. But the people at the cons are just the best, right? And I'm planning to do London Comic Con again this year, and hopefully some more cons in the future. They're hard to get into. There's usually quite a extensive sign up process and waiting list potentially, and then but yeah, I would do more cons if I had more time, certainly, but I definitely plan to do more. So, what about you, Philip?
Yeah,
and
first
Steve.
of all,
Steve, you've done some. Sorry.
Yeah, Steve, you've been to Comic Con or other kind of conferences like that?
Yeah, I went to StokerCon last year, and then I went to AuthorCon a couple months ago in Virginia, and that was a lot of fun.
I saw your tweets. Yeah, that was fun. It looked like fun.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. You met quite a few authors there, I think.
A couple.
Yeah.
Everyone was really great, and it's just this really, the love of books just brings everyone together, and we just kind of nerd out, and it's just a great time.
Yeah, you're with your tribe, when you're at these things, I think. So it's a wonderful thing. I haven't done stuff like that myself yet. I've been to academic conferences, which are much more boring. People don't dress up in costumes or anything except for tweed, So, I've been to ICFA, and that's that's an academic conference, though. That's not a convention. It's not a thing where you go necessarily. It's a little bit of an odd one, though, because a lot of authors do show up at ICFA as well. So it's almost a hybrid conference in that sense. But so it was a lot of fun. It was cool to hang out with, and I met some really wonderful people that we all know and love here on YouTube. So AP was there, and Jimmy was there, and Alan and Joanna. And so that was really cool to meet them. And we did hang out with Stephen Erickson, who was there, and met Stephen Donaldson as well. And I met Jenny there. So it was incredible. Yeah, it was really incredible. It was my first time ever talking to Jenny, actually, was that occasion at ICFA. So it was really, I thought, okay, this person is a force of nature.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Jenny is a force of nature, not just as an author, but as a person, and one of the most wonderful and intelligent, intellectual. What a genius that just and so diverse and has so much expertise in just a variety of subjects. The equine stuff, horsemanship, sailing. She's just, she's incredible. So, and I absolutely loved, was it last year, Philip, that you couldn't attend but you were still there because they did these cardboard cutouts.
It was this year. Yeah.
It was this year, right? You went everywhere. It was awesome.
That was Janny's doing, and her husband's made that silly face of mine. And AP brought it in all kinds of places, and they took photos and had a good time, I think, at my expense. So.
Oh yeah, the nemesis looked like he was really enjoying that.
I think there was a little extra jab or two here and there, So. But yeah, Colin, I'm so happy that you had a good time there. It sounds like it was a blast, and it is something I would love. I love talking to readers. So to go to one of those things as an author and have the opportunity to talk to readers would be just tremendous. I would love to do that sort of thing, to connect with people. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine as a writer, you not enjoying someone in a discussion with you about your book, who cares enough about the story to have a conversation with you. It's a wonderful thing. So yeah, I'd love to go to something like that someday. Yeah.
Oh, they're awesome and feeling like no other. So. Carl, Steve, the late night radio DJ host has been excellent. See, Steve, your fans are clamoring for you, man. They're clamoring for you to. You're gonna have to get working on this.
Well, I've read a couple of short stories, and they take me a long time to do, and they're 1,000 words. So one of these days I'll try something longer. There's a novella that I might just pump out of an audiobook for, and just surprise the author and just give it to them and say, "Here you go," and do what you want with it.
I was about to ask you, Steve, if you could audiobook narrate any author. Let's have your top 3.
Oh man.
Whose books would you like to narrate?
Ooh, that's a tough question. You're putting me
Yeah.
on the spot.
I'm gonna guess they're horror authors. That's
Did I,
just my
did,
guess.
will this be the top three that I think I can handle, or the top three that I would like to
Just the
do?
ones that would be ideal for you. They're not necessarily your
Okay.
favorite authors, but what would be the right fit for your voice? What would you enjoy as a story to narrate? Because I imagine that's a consideration, right? As an audiobook narrator, is this voice the right fit for this story? That sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know much about it. But what would be your at least three that you would want to do if you could?
Off the top of my head, I would say Priscilla Bettis, Laurel Hightower,
Yeah.
and something longer than a short story. Daniel Barnett.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
So great choices. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Those would be off the top of my head. That'd be the top three.
The dream team. Okay.
Dream team. That is
Maybe one of those will come to fruition someday. We'll see.
Hey, those authors' ears are burning. They're probably all okay. Can I get them to, make it me,
No,
pick
they're
me.
thinking, please don't ask me.
Okay, and Pee Wee's had that look on Steve's face of the ultimate gentleman.
I have them fooled, Pete. I have them fooled.
Oh, another question from Eddie for Philip. Professor, will your world of Edan ever make it to your classroom?
Wow. Thank you, Eddie, for that question. The fantasy novels course that I taught for several years at my college that I created and taught for several years, it doesn't run anymore. So my book will never make it into a classroom because that would be the only class where it would fit. And so, yeah, I don't see that happening. The reason that class doesn't run anymore is because of administrative decisions, state level decisions that just have made it less and less viable. It's really sad how much the humanities have been under attack, essentially. And we barely run our traditional literature courses as much as we used to. It's really sad to me to see how we run a lot fewer literature courses. So my little fantasy novels course was a unfortunate met an unfortunate demise in all of this. So it was a casualty of all these things, unfortunately. But so yeah, the short answer is no. But I've had a lot of students who've been interested, colleagues who have bought the book and have read it and told me they enjoyed it. So that's been really wonderful. Yeah. But unfortunately, I won't be able to. I don't think I would have ever included it in my fantasy novels course anyway. That would be a little weird to teach my own book. But yeah. So anyway, the class doesn't run, so it's unfortunate. But.
Yeah, it's too bad. I would predict though, some professor, perhaps more than one somewhere, will one day have that as part of their curriculum. They'll do some analysis of, songs in the way of Edan, or literary themes in the way of Edan in the Edan trilogy. I predict that's going to happen somewhere at a university or two somewhere in the world in the future, because it's such a fascinating novel, and you tackle so many things in your novel. So.
I am waiting for somebody well versed in Old English and Old Norse to pick up some of the linguistic stuff in there.
We might want to touch base with Taylor. She's got a lot of connections in the linguistic side as well.
Oh, yes.
And I think she's a linguist. I think she's a linguist by educationally. I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So yeah, so that would be awesome. JBJ plays. I'm thinking my first written work will be out of order, like you said, just about PL. I know most of the endings of a series I want to come up with, but have almost no idea what to begin with. That's not a bad thing. All that matters is that you finish the entirety of the book. You start with the ending, that's fine. You can write the beginning and the middle later. It's all about completion, right? So, that's fantastic. JBG Blaze, can't wait to see when you do finish your book, and we're looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, best wishes with that.
Yeah, best of luck. Doesn't help that this series I want to do is intended to satirize other series of the same genre. Realize a bit of a corner to write myself into already, but satire. I mean, fantasy satire. When you think of and he's not satirizing necessarily just other books, but satirizing life. The Terry Pratchett's of the world. There's something special about our ability to poke fun and actually, about serious topics. I love seeing that in fantasy. I need to read more Pratchett. Bjorn Larson, fantastic, right? Fantastic Norse Norse inspired mythology satire with his Why Odin Drinks series. That just awesome, and I'd love to see more of that. Actually, the combination of cozy fantasy and satire has been really blowing up in SPFBO specifically. Really been popular with Small Miracles, with the Atwater, and books such as that. So, there is a market for it, JBJ. So, surge forward, and you never know how successful you might be writing something like that. So. And then JBJ will wish to meet PL at CK Expo in the future. Hopefully so. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Is that Canada Con? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I believe so. Chatham Kent Expo, I believe. And that's where JBJ resides, and that's where I used to reside away from here. So fancy just about cons again. I did New York Con. Ooh, that's a big one. Way back in 2009, it was a great time.
That's what I'd love to. I mean, that's not far from me, so I could probably pull that off. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So, speaking of, this isn't Comic Cons, but I want to go back. I mentioned a bit earlier, Philip, that I've taken on the role of judge for the current iteration of the self-published fantasy blog off. So congratulations, kudos on that. That's a huge responsibility, and certainly that you are more than eminently capable of doing with a plum. Can you tell us a bit about how you got involved in this? What made you want to do judging for SPFBO, and how it's going so far?
Wow. So the short answer to how I got involved is Mark Lawrence asked me. And I said, yes.
How can you say no to that? I mean,
I know. I mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Just, I think that Mark has been keen to get more YouTubers involved. I know, of course, a huge, to me, plus for the contest is that Bookborn got involved last year. I think was her first year. And she's brought a lot of other great booktubers on board with her team. I'm not going to name them because I'm going to forget somebody, but she's got a really great team there. And there are other booktubers who are involved as well. But I think it was maybe in the past, at least, there were more bloggers and that sort of thing than booktubers. And now we're just sort of evening things out a bit. So I think he had been thinking about maybe inviting a booktuber. And he asked me, and I have been meaning to do more for the self-publishing community. And I have been reading self-published fantasy over the last couple of years and interviewing authors and that sort of thing on my channel. But this is a different level of engagement for sure. And I'm really excited about it because I think there's a beautiful community out there. I mean, we have a lot of people who are writing and telling their stories, and there's never been a more viable time for it. And I think the people who are taking the time to do their very best to, edit, work with people if they can, get the best story they can out there, put all that sweat and blood into it and tears, because it is a lot of work. I would like to do whatever I can to help those people find some recognition, to find some readers, to connect readers with stories. That's part of what we do around here, really, isn't it? Here on this platform is we try our best to connect readers with stories that we think they're going to love. So I'm totally ready for this experience. I want to embrace it as much as I can. I am on my own, however, so I have 30 books to read.
Wow.
And the way that works, though, guys, it sounds like a lot, but what we're told is, it's up to you how to handle this, but the expectation is that you would handle it more or less like an agent would read submissions. In other words, you read a bit and you think, okay, I should read more because this is actually really good. Okay. Or you might read a bit and say, I've read 2 or 3 books already that I feel are perhaps at a higher level than this, so I'll give this one a pass. And so that's how you do it. You don't necessarily read every page of every book. And I'm sorry to say that. It feels awful in a way because people have put themselves into these stories, and I want to give them as much attention as I can. But the fact of the matter is I have 30 books to read, and I'm not going to be reading every page of every book. There's no way that's going to happen. But I'm going to do my very best to give them justice and find what I feel are the best, at least 5. I'm committed to reviewing at least 5 of them as my own sort of semi-finalists. And then I have to find that one among those 30 that I'm going to forward as a finalist. And there are going to be 10 of those, as you guys know, maybe not everybody in the audience knows, but there are going to be 10 of these finalists from the 10 different groupings. And then the judges will read all of those, all 10 of those. I'll read the other 9, and we'll rate them, and the winner takes all. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm going to try my best to give attention to some very deserving stories in the process.
I'm sorry, PL.
No, please go ahead, Steve.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, Philip, having published your own book now, has that changed your approach to reviews at all?
I don't think it has. I mean, I've been writing for a long time, and so I've always sort of half thought of myself as, someone writing a story. So I've always tried my best to be considerate when I do reviews. My rule, and I've talked about this before on YouTube, is I would not say in a video review or a written review anything that I wouldn't say in front of the author. If I like to pretend the author is sitting there in front of me, and I'm giving feedback to this author, and I try my best to keep it respectful. And I will have constructive criticisms, but I try to frame them in a way that comes across as, and take it or leave it. Of course, they might think I'm wrong, and that's fine. But I try my best to be respectful when I give that feedback. So I don't think I've changed in that sense. I still, that's my rule. I keep reminding myself of, is this author's right here in front of you. How are you going to conduct yourself? And in the internet age, maybe that's, everybody does their own style, and that's okay. I'm not trying to say anyone's wrong for doing it differently from the way I do it, but that's how I feel comfortable. That's what feels right to me. So that's what I do.
It's a really good rule of thumb, because we may run into each other someday at a con or something. You don't want to be that person who are just, who kind of went over the line. So it's good to have that. For me anyway, I felt like that's the kind of approach I try to have too. So,
well, we have the utmost confidence in you, Philip, that you're going to be fantastic at this. We love reading. We love watching your reviews, and it's going to be amazing to see some SPFBO reviews among them potentially. It's a huge honor. I know you're somewhat close to Mark, to be asked by the founder himself of SPFBO to be a judge. That's a humongous honor. Obviously, he has a lot of confidence in your abilities to do that. And SPFBO is, I would argue, the premier writing competition in the self-published community. I mean, the hype around this contest has just become unreal.
I agree with that, PL, but I think in addition to being the premier contest in the self-publishing community, it is also a really wonderful community building event. It is wonderful to see people coming around. And we had a little controversy this year in regard.
Did we really? I didn't notice that.
Just a tiny bit.
A little flicker on Twitter there happened. And you might have seen it.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and actually, the book that it was about is in my group. So it's one of the books that I'm reading. And so it was a controversy in regard to the cover. And so to make it, I mean, if anyone didn't hear about it, if you somehow slept through all that, basically the author was told by the artist that the cover was not AI. And because the way the cover contest has been set up is you cannot enter a cover that has been created in any way, shape, or form by AI. And the author believed that the cover was indeed human created. He entered it into the cover contest, and it won the cover contest according to the blogger vote. And then when it was announced that it won, you had a lot of people on Twitter saying, I think that's AI. And some of them were very polite about it, and some were not so polite about it. And it turned out they were right, that it was indeed created with AI. And so, yeah, it was a very, unfortunately, the whole thing is unfortunate in many ways. A lot of people were very disrespectful to Mark Lawrence and to others and to the author. So it was unfortunate, but I think we've gotten over it, and we're moving on. And yeah, I think so. And for the most part, what SPFBO is, I mean, they say that there's no such thing as bad publicity, but I'm not sure I buy that. But we're moving on, and I think most of what you see with SPFBO is just wonderful community of people coming together around a common interest in fantasy storytelling, and it's fantastic. It's a really great thing that Mark Lawrence started, and a wonderful support system.
Yeah, it is amazing, and this is my second year being part of the judging team for Before I Go blog. Shout out to the wonderful Beth Tabler and all of my peeps inside and outside of the SPFBO group at Before You Go blog.
Taylor's involved too, I think, right?
Yeah, Taylor's involved as well. So it's such a one of a kind contest in that. Well, one thing that I'm realizing now is that because it's this thing that just the gift that keeps on going, because as soon as one version of the contest is over, the next one starts basically right on the heels of that. After the finalists have gone through their vetting for the 10, and we get the winner of the coveted selfie stick announced, then we're on to the next year's contest, and 300 submissions coming in, and the excitement of who's gotten in. And this year's contest filled up in record time.
41 minutes.
41 minutes. I mean, that's astounding, right? Just to show you how competitive and how sought after, it is to be part of this contest. But as Philip pointed out, the support in the community, the uplifting, the way people boost each other's books, there's a lot of they're very altruistic attitude, even though it's a competition about cheering each other on, rooting for each other, supporting each other. If perhaps you get a less than favorable review or you get cut, celebrating those victories when you move on to a semifinal round or a final round. Like I just find that this contest is one of a kind for that, and it just really shows so many of we talked a bit about some of this negative aspect regarding this somewhat controversy, but as Philip said, there's so much positive in this contest, right? And it is just phenomenal. And and although I know that Mark Lawrence, this wasn't the intention of the contest, it's not something that a self-published author that you should necessarily be looking for coming into the contest. But let's face facts, some traditionally published stars and deals have been made specifically because of the spotlight shown on some of these authors, that have been successful at SPFBO, that have made the semifinals and finals and won the contest, and a lot of them have book deals. I'm
reading one right now, Josiah Bancroft. I'm reading the Books of Babel. I'm reading the Hod King, third book in the Books of Babel. And SPFBO really is the reason why he became published traditionally.
Yeah. So something like that. I mean, again, I think it's an unintended benefit. However, it is a benefit, and just the exposure, for authors that perhaps you're feeling, okay, I don't have a lot of reviews, I haven't done a lot of marketing, I haven't got a lot of exposure. This is a phenomenal way to get eyes on your book and to get reviews from some top bloggers, people with the esteem, such as Mr. Chase and some of the other blogging sites. I mean, that's a big opportunity. So that's a huge opportunity. So can't say enough positive about SPFBO. Can't say enough positive about Mark Lawrence for starting it. This is something that's very philanthropic because, let's face it, Mark Lawrence is a traditionally published fantasy star. This is a real philanthropic endeavor that, it's not something he had to do. It's a lot of work, but he wanted to shine a light on. I remember watching several interviews. Obviously, Philip, being closer to him, you can weigh in here. That he did it because almost, and this just shows you what kind of person he is. Hey, he said, I basically feel like I won the lottery by getting a book deal, and there's so many people that have written good books that haven't, and they deserve some exposure. And you can weigh on this, Philip, of course. Like that's amazing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it just shows you that what a really decent guy he is. That he would, after achieving his level of success, would then turn around and reach out a helping hand to so many people. It's pretty fantastic. It takes a special person to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, it is. So check out SPFBO. There's sales going on for many of the authors involved. There's Discord groups where you can chat with the authors, find out more about their work. There's so many things. If you put in hashtag SPFBO 9 in for example Twitter, you'll come up with a plethora of great stuff. Steve, you got something to say there? Add there?
No, just sometimes hashtags aren't the best idea, but because of all the controversy. But it's a great great event for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to get to some of the comments here. Hey, the wonderful Charlie Cavendish. Hey, Charlie. Morning from Sydney, Australia. Welcome. Charlie's a great guy. Carl O'Connor, big smile. Thanks, Carl, for coming by. JBJ again. Glad you brought up short stories. I'm actually considering making volumes or chapters disguised as short stories, or is it the other way around? Can't wait to hear what you come up with there, JBJ. McCarfield, question here. Greetings, chaps. Professor, will we visit Sirkin's Wall in the next 2 books? The most intriguing place for me mentioned on your map.
Okay, I can answer that pretty quickly. Yes, there's a whole chapter at Sirkin's Wall just for you, McScarfield.
Ooh. Nice. That's fantastic. Nice. We can't wait to hear more what that's about.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Jeremy, I can see Steve narrating Dog Meat by Priscilla Betts.
Close, Jeremy. Yeah.
Yeah?
Close.
Steve? Yeah, okay.
I won't confirm or deny. Yeah.
Won't confirm or deny. All right. All right.
You heard it here first.
Yep, you heard it first on Page Chewing. There is our wonderful and talented co-host, made to the pages. Once again, Taylor, congratulations on the birth of your new baby, you and Hayoto. Fantastic. We're missing you. I wish you were here, but we totally understand why you're not. Taylor says, hi, everyone. Sorry I can't be there on video today, but so excited I could catch part of this. Congrats on your first live PL, and thanks for coming back, Philip. Yes, thank you for being a wonderful return guest, Philip, one of our first. So amazing. Yeah. We miss you, Taylor, and can't wait to see you soon.
And we wish you the best. Wow, how exciting, how wonderful to have a baby in the world.
Yes, exactly. Fantasy theory is a crime, as Philip was speaking about the shrinking humanities curriculums that humanities are despairing from education. Yeah, I would agree.
I agree.
JBJ's was so close to narrating John Kingdom. I appreciate PL's feedback from our meeting. Then I love Adam Curtin, and I'm patiently anticipating the chapters, including Sean Polite. Yes, I have 2 audiobook narrators for the audiobook version for John Kingdom. One, Adam Curtin, phenomenal, voices most of the Atalanteans, including especially Othrin, the main character. And, he does such a great job of conveying the snarky, disdainful, privileged, you're the scum on the bottom of my shoe, that is Othrin, his personality. And Sean Polite does a lot of the Eltonish voices, so the other in the book. So yeah, wonderful voice narrators. But JBJ has a lot of talent as a potentially as a voice narrator as well. So I hope he continues in that vein. Jeremy, I researched a book recommended by Joanna in which a professor decided to just teach whatever he wanted. The classes assigned to him, no matter what the curriculum had in it.
That must be Stoner, I'm guessing.
So that's an interesting comment. JBJ's feedback by idea is surprisingly encouraging. Thank you. Taylor, was so excited to hear you're part of SPO this year. Philip, I think we're all.
Yeah, I might come to you, Taylor, for some advice. You're a veteran.
Yes, she is. But sounds like you got that well covered, Philip. Sounds like you do a phenomenal job. And quickly here, PL, given Atlantis appears to be an inspiration for your drunken. Where did your interest for the topic come from? Personally, loved Atlantis, Lost Empire, and the Indiana Jones comic. Thanks for that question, Rick Scarfield. My interest came from the actual original Plato tale, and I wanted to write something, somewhat similar, reminiscent, inspired by. You'd see something analogous to, but with my own little twist on the story. So yeah, that's where it came from. I'm fascinated with that story. I've spoken at length on Page Chewing with Steve and on Dear Dr. Fantasy with Philip. I was honored to be there, and yeah, so it's actually Plato's original tale where my inspiration came from. Lancelot's Pirate is such a good movie. It was. And then Hod King is a gem. I have not read, Josiah Breakout series. It's on my TBR. I hope to get to it. I know, Philip, you've been doing some deep dives on your channel about.
We're doing a conversation about each of the 4 books. The first one was on my channel on Sunland Ascends, and yes, Bancroft is a great writer. He's a very talented writer.
Yeah, gotta get to that. So many books, so little time.
Yeah,
to read. JBJ, yeah, Derby agreed. One of my favorites from childhood. Too bad Atlantis isn't real. How do we know it isn't real, though? How do we know it isn't real? Right now there's someone out there, probably many people, searching for the lost realm of Atlantis. I think that's a fascinating fact that so many people believe that it is much more than legend. Like Arthur, like so many pseudo-historical people consider them pseudo-historical or historical legends that might have actually existed. We just haven't found the definitive proof yet, but perhaps it's out there. Daniel, I'm reading Mark Doyle's latest book now, and it's fantastic. I assume that's the book that wouldn't burn. Philip, you did a review on that, didn't you?
I did. I reviewed the book that wouldn't burn. It is, in my opinion, Mark Lawrence's best book so far. And if the trilogy continues at that level, it's going to be a classic of literature. Just never mind fantasy or whatever genre boundaries there are. It's just going to be one of the best stories I've ever read if he continues that level with the next 2. And you don't have to have read any other Mark Lawrence books to read The Book That Wouldn't Burn, in case anybody's wondering that. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah, I watched your video, Philip, exceptional video on that book, and it just made me, Mark Lawrence is one of those authors. I haven't read enough by him. I've read quite a bit, but not enough. And I really need to bump that up in my TBR, because, I really, the series I have read, including The Broken Empire, have been extremely compelling. I mean, I'm someone who enjoys reading and writing flawed characters. Well, Jorg is probably one of the most flawed, I would argue one of the most flawed, protagonists or antagonists, if you wish, in fantasy literature, and such a dark, compelling, fantastic series. So
yeah, it is. I mean, that's his only grimdark series. The rest are not grimdark. But so yeah, totally. The Book That Wouldn't Burn is very different from Broken Empire.
Eddie, PL, were you happy with the reimagining of Namor in the Wakanda movie? Believe it or not, I have not seen the second Black Panther movie. I have not seen it yet. I've seen the first one, of course, but I've been holding off. Obviously it's something I plan to watch. But from my understanding, just from, obviously you can't avoid, seeing, potential spoilers about that because, if you're anywhere on social media, but it sounds like another flawed character that has a compelling arc. So I am looking forward to seeing what was done with Namor. So yes, indeed. So Philip, you the last time we spoke to you, we were speaking about how busy you were with. You your organization time management skills must be exceptional, because obviously you have a family and you're a professor, and I believe you were department head or associate department head, and I believe you're thinking about perhaps taking a step back from that.
Yes. Yes. Thank goodness. Yeah, I stopped. Well, I'm technically on the hook until the end of June, but I've more or less been a lame duck department chair for the last couple of months. So I'm not really doing worrying about that at the moment. So yeah, that duty is pretty much finished, and it's a relief, really. I love teaching, but I'm not an administrator at heart. So yeah.
Well, you're juggling quite a lot. Even still, being a professor is a very busy job, a rewarding job, I'm sure, and one that you love. But and now you're doing SPFBO judging. You're writing, you're publishing your novels, and you still have your fantastic YouTube channel, amongst other things. So how are you finding the time crunch these days with everything that you have going on?
Yeah, I actually cloned myself. There are 3 of me.
I knew it. AP has a theory about that. So
oh, AP has a lot of theories. I don't know how many of them you should listen to, but especially if they concern me. But no, these are all things that I'm passionate about and I love: family and writing and YouTube and teaching. I play tennis too, so yeah, that I get. I guess it helps to just love what you're doing, and it just doesn't feel like work so much. And my days are filled with things that I love, so that's great. I love that, and so I don't feel. I have obviously, by stepping down from the role of chairperson, I'm freeing up some space there, and I have started to make, instead of 3 videos a week, I'm making 2 videos a week on my YouTube channel. And that's, I'm not worrying about things like, oh no, I'm not getting as many subscribers, or, oh, views are down. And even though I actually just ignore the YouTube studio, because it just tells me how terrible I am as a YouTuber all the time. Like, oh, views are down. And like, you know what? It's okay. I'm connecting with the people I want to be connected with. I'm doing things I love on this platform, which is having conversations like this. And that's what it's all about for me. So I'm not worrying about numbers and stuff like that. I'm not going to get stressed about things like that. So that's how I handle it, I guess.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job juggling a lot of, very stimulating and fast and rewarding things, but that will keep you very occupied for quite some time. So I just want to get to a couple more questions as we're winding down here. The time just flies. It's been an hour and a half already. Pete reads, I've seen some YouTube videos of people thinking if our lenses, yep. There's a lot of theories about a lens's location. Some people put it in the essentially in the Asiatic area, and some people put it, pretty well in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, close to North America. And there's all kinds of really fascinating theories. Not all of them necessarily as credible as other ones, but there's a lot of interesting theories about Atlantis. Honestly, I cannot believe when I learned it wasn't real. I'm so happy to learn Atlantis reality. Yeah, I mean, and for some people it is real. For some scholars, they believe they've found empirical evidence that it exists. And
PL, do you have a favorite theory, one that you find most compelling?
I do. I really lean towards the Adriatic area, and specifically some of the now Greek islands that may or may not either have the location, have grown over the location, and location being now submerged, and or were the location. So I'm very, I've always been, I guess I feel that, I'm one of the people that when enough people throughout history have theories or ideas about something, I'm more inclined to believe that there is some small grain of truth, even if it's there's something behind it. Whether it's again, we talked about King Arthur. Was he a historical figure? Was Atlantis real? I believe there's something there. We don't know what that something is, It may be misinterpreted. It may be, some of the other elements. There may be some a bit more misguided. Hoping about some things that are more fantastical elements of these legends, but there may be a basis in actual historical fact that I think. Steve, I'm not. What do you think about some of these things?
I don't know enough about it to speculate.
Well, the nice thing is, in the meantime, PL, before while these things are not confirmed, it leaves space for a great imagination like yours. So.
Well, thank you. I'm honored, Philip. Thank you for that compliment. So I'm just going to quickly go here. Yep, PL, have you read The Atlantis Papyrus? Wizard of Atlantis by Jay Penner? No, I haven't actually, but I have heard of that book. It is on my TBR. I have not got to it yet, but again, it sounds like a fascinating read. I'm going to get to this last question here with our colleague and co-host Taylor. We'll kind of finish it in terms of questions. I think we'll finish it off there. Have you all read anything recently that wowed you? If so, what was it? I've been reading The Girl Who Speaks Bear, which is a middle grade. It fits and starts between feedings, and it's wonderful. Philip, what have you been reading recently that's wowed you? You mentioned The Book That Wouldn't Burn. Anything else?
The Book That Wouldn't Burn is the first thing that comes to mind. I love the characters, love the setting, love the themes that Lawrence weaves in there, and he always does something interesting with chronology. It's just a beautiful book, and it's a really a wonderful challenge to the imagination. So another one that comes to mind I read recently would be Robin Hobb's Fool's Fate, which is the third man of the Tawny Man trilogy. The whole trilogy is brilliant, but the third book had me in tears multiple times. So that obviously had an impact, I would say. Yeah, those are the two that spring to mind, I think. How about you, Steve?
The last one that wowed me was I'm on a bit of a book hangover from The Unholy Consult.
R. Scott Baker.
I'm finding it difficult to move on after that.
Is that the last one in the Second Apocalypse series?
Yeah, last book.
Seventh book. Okay.
Yeah, I can't see too much, but yeah, it's quite a book, quite a series.
Wow, I've read the first trilogy, Prince of Nothing, but I haven't read the 4 subsequent books yet. But I will.
Yeah, it does have a different feel to it. It is more. I don't want to say it's less bleak because it's still bleak, but has a different feel to it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it could be more bleak than Prince of Nothing, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid to say too much, but yeah, it is. It does have a feel. It does have a different feeling to it for sure. It's more fantastic. There's a lot. How can I say this? There's more callback. There's more references to other fantasy in that other series. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. Yeah. As for me, I went on a kind of a binge read of the last final 4 books of Jenny Wirt's series in the Wars of Light and Shadow. Just, I mean, phenomenal. You can imagine how wonderful it was for me, who's such a fan of her and her writing, to read those books. I've been reading some great SPFBO books, which I can't really speak on now, but yeah, I've had a great time with at least certainly 2 of my SPFBO reads that I kind of dipped my toes into. I have read some wonderful self-published books outside of SPO. The Severing Sun by Von Raycroft.
I like that one. Yeah.
Love it. Philip, I believe Philip mentioned in one of his videos that it was one of the best self-published books that he's read. Is that correct, Philip?
That's correct. Yeah, I actually did the cover reveal for Vaughn, and I think mine was the first review out there. So I think that's true on YouTube at least. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of Vaughn's writing. Yeah,
and it's just such a phenomenal guy, phenomenal person.
Yes.
So I really enjoyed his book. I enjoyed. There's a lot of self-published book recently. Jay Hannaford's The Skin, another one that comes to mind. Fantastic self-published writer on the traditionally published end, as well as Jenny's works. I really enjoyed The Grace of Kings. That's thanks to Steve and Taylor. They got me on Ken Louis, and of course he's been on Page Swing. Just what a brilliant intellect, and wow, the Grace of Kings was right up my alley.
Cool.
As I gleaned from specifically Steve I was so honored when he did the review of A Drowned Kingdom, and I mean, anytime you get mentioned in the same breath as Ken Louis, it's a big deal. So thank you for that, Steve. Of course, I'm no Ken Louis, but the elements, some of the elements, I saw where you're going, and yeah, I think his series is, I'm sure, going to become one of my faves. So yeah, I could speak more, but yeah, I've had a great string recently of a lot of really good books. So hopefully more to come in the second half of 2023.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Well, the time just, again, as Steve always says, it goes so fast. We want to respect Philip's time. We've been speaking for 1 hour and a half. We do have a few wrap up things we'd like to get into before we close off. First of all, we'd like to thank Philip immensely for coming back to Page Chewing. You're such a wonderful, warm, amazing person. We love your insights. We love watching your Booktube channel. Now we get to enjoy your marvelous books from the Edan trilogy, including The Way of Edan, and it's been a great journey. Looking forward to more, reading The Prophet of Edan and finishing the trilogy, which will all be released this year, which is amazing.
Yep, and hopefully that arc will be in your hands soon.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Gonna drop everything for that one. So, yeah. So as we're wrapping up, maybe we can hear from Steve and Philip about where to get a hold of you, social media handles, contacts. For Philip, you including your YouTube channel and about the books, Goodreads, etc. website, and Steve, same for you with YouTube and where to get hold of you. So if you gentlemen would like to impart that, some knowledge on us about that.
Sure. Yeah. Should I'll go first? Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So I'm Philip Chase. The YouTube channel is just very creatively named Philip Chase. So you can find me there. I'm on Twitter at Philip Chase 90. And that's pretty much all I dabble in Twitter. Really, I'm pretty bad at it, to be honest with you. But I'm there, and I will reply to people. I want to thank you, PL, for the privilege and the honor of being on this inaugural episode on your channel. Of Page Chewing. This has been tremendous, and thank you, Steve, for being an awesome guy and just a wonderful presence. A calming presence for so many of us here on Booktube. You guys are both fantastic, and Taylor is too. And I totally understand why Taylor is occupied at the moment. I remember those days very well with the little babies. Kind of miss them actually. But thank you. And PL, I'm looking forward to, as much as I am fairly busy this summer, one priority is definitely for me to read The Drowned Kingdom. I've got it actually upstairs on my nightstand, so it is in my stack to read. So I'll be getting to it soon, and I can't wait to have a chance to talk with you. So I might have to invite you back on the channel.
Oh, I'd be so humbled and honored, Philip. Thank you so much. I'd be honored. Nervous about you reading Drowned Kingdom, but honored. So, Steve, my wonderful co-host, where can we find you? Where are you lurking?
Well, first, I want to thank Philip again we really appreciate your time. We know you're very busy, and we're so grateful that you are able to spend time with us. I can be found on YouTube at Steve Talks Books or Steve Talks Movies, and also over on pagechewing.com, and visit our blog or forums.
Yes, well, and for Taylor, because just to speak on her behalf, we can find her on Twitter, May Between the Pages, and of course her YouTube channel, May Between the Pages, Before Go Blog, where she's an assistant editor, and seeing her reviews on Goodreads there as well. Of course, I am PL Stuart, and I'm the author of the Drowned Kingdom Saga. 3 books out now: A Drowned Kingdom, The Last of the Atlanteans, and Lord and King, which is book 3. Currently working on book 4, A Lion's Pride, due to be released in the spring of 2024. So, if everything's on track, God willing. You can find me lurking beside Steve and Taylor on their channels as well. For Page Chewing, our author and actually creative feature interview feature where we interview people from the writing community, editors, bloggers, writers, agents, just a wide variety of wonderful people who contribute to this space. So check out Page Chewing, and of course, Page Chewing Friday Night Conversations, hosted on Steve's channel, which I think hopefully add something to your experience on Booktube. We have a lot of fun doing it, and some great guests to come, such as Philip, just wonderful, just a wonderful human, and I've had such a great time to have Philip as my inaugural guest on Page Chewing that I do with Steve and Taylor. Is just a real treasure and a privilege, and something that I will always remember fondly. So thank you, Philip, for doing that. So
the honor is mine, and also thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you for showing up and giving your great comments and questions.
Yes, thank you so much for everything in the chat. I apologize if anyone in the chat whose questions we did not get to, but we so appreciate you participating, and you're such a big part of what makes this type of content special. So thank you for your comments, participation, your questions, especially for our esteemed guests. So that's it. I'll be signing off. So until next time, we'll see you later.